You're listening to the Chat City interviews from 103.2 Preston FM.
On 103.2 FM.
From Grosvenor to Grimsby
and Frenchwood to Farringdon Park.
It's your community,
your radio, your Preston FM.
And your morning show, Chat City, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. through to noon. And in the studio right now is Dean Fraser. Dean is a professional performer and writer. He has appeared far and wide at festivals across England and Harris Flights Expo in Preston, and regularly performs at museums and libraries. So, Dean, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Hughie.
Nice to meet you. So, I don't want to put you in a box.
Okay.
I've seen professional performer and writer, and I also saw on your Facebook page, it also said professional quantum folk poet and writer.
That's right.
And a lovely description. We were discussing in the office this morning what quantum folk poet and writer is.
It means I think outside the box. It really
right.
is as simple as that.
We thought possibly around that.
I've travelled around Lancashire. I'm inspired by the people and places that I see. And I have this kind of abstract way of looking at things, so that's where the quantum comes in.
Right. So, how did all this begin for you then, Dean? Is this from a family, from childhood? Is it during your nurturing years, or was it school that this began?
It did start at school originally. I had a wonderful English teacher,
right,
who I shall mention, George Maund.
Wow.
Who was fantastic, and he was very encouraging. And he, if you like, nurtured me and encouraged me to write. And he always enjoyed the stories that I wrote at school. And it came from there, but really it was the Preston Guild that got me out there and back performing again. I got involved in the Guild, and it really blossomed from there again, as an adult.
Right. So there was a period of time. So can you remember some of the stories at school? I mean, were they about life? Were they about age?
It's a similar sort of thing to what I do now, really. Observation of life, people, events, things that I see as I travel around the place.
Right. But after school, you didn't then head professionally to do it?
No, I've always written. But getting out there and actually performing again really only started a couple of years ago. And I absolutely love it. Should have done it sooner.
Is that right?
Yes.
One of those things that you sometimes think, wow, what happened then in the intervening years?
Yes.
So at the moment, I mean, what is the difference between writing and poetry then? You write other things other than poetry?
I do. I've written a few books mainly on subjects such as alternative health. However, the poetry, I find I write material now rather than poetry, because I know I'm going to perform it at different venues throughout Lancashire, well, indeed throughout England now. I'm writing material that I know will come across well to an audience, that they will enjoy hearing. So, yes, I write poetry, but I write performance material, really. And for me, there is a difference between the two.
Right. And that's what I was wondering. So, I mean, the poetry or whatever you write, it's not doing it when you perform it in dialect, but it is keeping traditional stories alive in Lancashire and the people of Lancashire.
As you probably noticed, I don't really have a Lancashire accent. I can't talk in dialect. I just sound like an idiot.
So would I could tell.
So no, I don't try to do dialect. But it's things I see on my travels. I travel around a lot. And I'm inspired by what I observe.
And again, you mentioned the teacher at school. I mean, what about poetry at school? One of the regrets, if it is a regret, and that's probably not the right word, when I was at school, was that sadly I didn't have a teacher who brought poetry alive.
Yes.
So I never really experienced the joy of poetry.
Yeah, George Maund, he would act the poems when he was reading them out, and he made them very entertaining.
Right.
Okay, I didn't really enjoy poetry too much at school, I have to say. It was more writing. But when he would read a poem out, he really drew you into the story. And I hope in my little way that's what I'm able to do myself these days.
Right. And you've got a selection of your work with you, so you're going to do something for us now?
Yes, I'll do something, like I say, I'm inspired by places that I visit. And this particular one was actually written in Morrison's in Preston.
Right, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was carrying my notebook and a pen. My partner was doing her shopping, and I went to sit on the bench because this just came to me. It's called Supermarket. Here we go. Supermarketing. Promotions offering. Now less than half price. Luxury range is twice as nice. Free wine with every ready meal. Buy one, get one free. What a deal. 10p off washing powder. Save on our bean chowder. Giant store dominates the landscape. Spend now, there can be no escape.
Lovely.
Thank you.
So you're sat writing the poetry while she's doing the shopping?
While she's doing the shopping, yes.
So you carry that notebook with you wherever you go?
Wherever I go.
And how do you recognise, though, that there's something there, that there's something you need to commit to paper?
Like I say, that's where the quantum comes in.
Yes.
It's my way of looking at the world. So maybe I'm seeing things that some people might not do. And usually a few lines come to me that rhyme, and the rest of the poem builds its way around that.
Right. And when you were also saying that you were into, or you've written books around alternative health?
Yes.
And how did that come about?
Through an avid interest in the subject.
Right.
Right through the 90s. It was something that fascinated me. And I was involved a little bit in that in the 90s. So things like stress control, aromatherapy, crystal healing. So that's, if you like, my more serious work.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you get people actually requesting that you write something for them? Do you get people? Yeah,
this does happen. In fact, I did an event for Terry Quinn just before Christmas.
Preston FM, Terry Quinn.
Preston FM, yes, the lovely Terry.
Yes.
And he knows I can write to order, sort of rent a poet. So I did a couple of poems for him for a specific event. Which was really nice. It challenges me. So this was about bonfire night, alternative reasons to celebrate.
Right.
So, very Terry. So,
yes.
Yeah, I came up with a couple of poems for him that seemed to go down okay. So yeah, it was a good night.
It must be very challenging, as you say, though, to write to order.
Yeah, that started because I did Penwortham Live last year.
Brilliant, Penwortham Live.
Yeah,
love Penwortham Live.
Brilliant event, love it. And I worked as part of a group called the Four Poets at that time, and we wrote a whole set of material just for the event based around Penwortham, which taught me a lot about the town, which I certainly didn't know before.
Right.
It's a fascinating experience, and I realised, okay, I can write to order here, and it's grown from that, really.
Right. And when you're putting things down on paper, are you consciously aware of what you're wanting to put on the paper and how you hope it will then be received?
Sometimes I sit down with the proverbial blank piece of paper and who knows what's going to come.
Yeah.
I don't know until I've finished it. Oh, okay, all right.
So is it a very active mind that helps you create then?
Yes, I will wake up in the middle of the night with an idea and have to write it down, yes.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
And, has this taken off, as you say, it was the guild, was it? Were you taking part in the guild, or you were just attending the guild and suddenly
I was part of the Beautiful Planet Guild procession.
Oh, yes, right.
Beautiful Planet on Friargate. And I got involved in that. And it was a fantastic occasion to be part of the guild, which my parents had been 40 years before.
Right, yeah.
It happened purely by chance, just right place, right time. And yeah, it all grew out of that, really. And the group that I run, Understage Events, we perform all over Lancashire now.
Mm. And the guild, you're right, it was a brilliant event. It was my first guild ever. I'd always heard about Preston Guild. It was one of those things. But what I did love was the way everybody came together. The community.
Oh, the sense of community,
It was brilliant, wasn't it? That you just wish that you could have that sense of community throughout the year all and the time, contain it. Yeah. But that was brilliant. And you're now doing quite a lot of work in the museums and libraries.
That's right.
Is that because you feel that your work lends itself to those kinds of establishments, or because
It-
they
yeah.
are the establishments these days that are good to appear in?
I've done some work in arts cafes as well, but as a poet, perform in a library, a place of literature, is perfect. I adore libraries and museums, and a lot of my material is, if you like, historical. It's Lancashire based, and it fits in really well to those kind of locations. For example, there's something coming up at Museum of Lancashire in March, 9th of March, and we're going in there to do People and Places of Lancashire. Myself, William Michael Neary, a brilliant poet,
yes, yes.
the Bowland Bard.
Yes.
Really, really wonderful. It's a pleasure just to sit and watch him. And Irene Flack, who's a poet from Chorley, and we'll go in there, do an hour-long performance, very family friendly, and tell the story of Lancashire through poetry.
And again, a nice venue, isn't it? I mean, the other thing that I like about libraries these days are the music. That there's often live music performed.
There is.
And I often go to Lancaster Library to a lot of the live sessions that they put on there. So, how often do you write? I mean, is it walking down Cannon Street after the interview? If you see something, will it be the notebook and
There might even
committed
be a
to
poem
paper?
written about this event. Me coming in here, you never know. All the time, Dougie, all the time.
Yeah.
So far this year I've written 50 new poems. So it's happening all the time. Because I perform a lot of what I write, I don't want it to get stale.
Yeah, I can understand that.
If I'm bored, my audience is going to be bored. So I like to keep it fresh, keep new things coming along all the time.
So is it always live, or are you looking, or have you published them as yet?
Yes, I have a few books
there we
out. Various different collections based on different themes. Yes, I have 3 poetry collections out there at the moment.
And you're also, for anybody in St Anne's listening, you're performing over there. When is that, Dean?
That's next Saturday, Dougie. As part of National Library Day. I'm on at 2:15.
2:15, so they are.
Yeah, I performed at St Anne's Library before, and it is a beautiful space.
Yes, yes, I know it quite well. So, another piece for us, Dean. Have you got?
Yes,
another
I
one?
shall do another one. I'll do one that I actually wrote for Harris Flights last year.
Right.
It's called Flag Market Preston, and a friend of mine was telling me that the Flag Market is the only area of Preston that's never ever been built on.
Right.
And so I'm stood on the stage in the middle of the Flag Market, which is, again, a privilege to be able to do. So I wrote this. So many changes, and still I remain. Magnificent town hall, engulfed by fire, yet still standing for many years. A half promise that it may be saved, but no, not this time. Crystal House as was, seemed like a good replacement. So many changes, and still I remain. The post office building, functional and yet beautiful, still stands proudly yet obsolete. The cenotaph a reminder of the fragility of human life, but not humanity. So many changes, and still I remain. The Harris Museum and Library, great centre for knowledge and reading, for the people of Preston, creating a new horizon for the then town and now the city. So many changes, and still I remain. They build all around me, changing the road layout. Buses no longer passing by me. I am the eyes of the city. I am the Flag Market.
Wow, lovely, Dean. With something like that, would you write that in one go?
Yes.
Or would you
Yes.
would?
Yes.
And that would be it?
That would be it, yes.
Wow, that is quite
I'm afraid I'm
something.
not one of these tortured souls who spend 6 months writing a poem. They usually take 5 or 10 minutes.
That is quite something, though, isn't it? Because I'm sure most people would commit that to paper, but then would constantly go back to it over a period of time, and maybe that frustration then would arise at getting the perfection that they wanted. But to do it in one go,
Yeah, maybe I should say, oh no, I slave over them for weeks and weeks, but no, it isn't like that.
But maybe you're right. Maybe that is why then you have the perfection and joy of really enjoying what you do, as you said. That
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like work.
It never does. It never does. It's pure pleasure. I absolutely love it. I'm doing exactly what I want to do. I mean, how wonderful.
Well, yes, there's not many people in life can really say that. What about the content of humour. I mean, is that an easy one to come to you, or is humour not something that is often written within?
In my poetry, humour usually does find its way in, and I can't help myself really. I have to put a bit of humour in there.
Right. Yeah.
If I have time to read another one in a minute, I'll do one with a little bit of humour in there, and you'll get the idea.
Mm. And you've also you now have your own company, so you've set up a company, and that's called
Understage Events.
Understage Events,
yeah.
And that's online, is it? People can find out about
People
it
can
online.
find it on Facebook. Just go on Facebook, type Understage Events, and there we are. And we do all sorts of events. Last year, we did Harris Flights on the August bank holiday, on the Saturday. And we put on a 6-hour show there, incorporating music, poetry, violin. And it really, as a Preston man myself, to be able to go and do that, was an absolute honour.
Yes.
To be part of Harris Flights as well.
Yeah, I can understand that. And who in the world of arts or performing or writing these days is the person that you like to hear or to see?
My work is more inspired by musicians than poets.
Is that right?
I have to say.
What kind of musicians?
I like really reading the lyrics of people like Jim Morrison, Bob Dylan, Donovan, George Harrison.
Mm.
These, for me, are more inspiring personally than poets.
Right.
Although William Michael Neary, who I work with often, and Irene Flack, they inspire me as well.
And when you talk about the inspiration of the musicians, is
Yes.
it the inspiration of the words, the music, the sound?
It is. It's the way that they put words together. Neil Diamond as well. Absolute master of his craft. I will put one of his albums on, not listen to the music, just listen to the way he's structuring rhymes. And that, I really admire that ability.
Mm. So, Dean, you said that there's another one that you can read for us right now?
Yes, I can. Let me just find it. Now, this is taking us out of Preston.
Okay.
To somewhere that Preston has a little bit of rival with, a place on the coast. The poem is called Kiss Me Quick, Tangerine Dream, to give you a clue as to where it might be.
Yes, where could that be?
So, it's celebrating the culture of the town and maybe trying to be just a little ironic, well, maybe a little bit ironic. Standing next to the library, a gallery of art, nourishing the soul, culture they impart, painting, sound, all arts it embraces, taking us to many faraway places. Streets a mix of Victorian architectural hints, mixing harmoniously with all the glitz and chintz. What should be a total clash somehow blends in its uniqueness, becoming quite sublime to the senses in its completeness. The greatest giant of this Victorian dream, to copy dear Eiffel, was part of the scheme. Far-seeing sentinel oversees the town. Catch the show, see the creepy clown. Stayed there myself when I was quite small. Stood there and tried to take in it all. Said to my parents, whatever it takes, can we leave this place and go to the lakes?
I love it. Papa Dear Eiffel. I love that one as well.
Thank you.
Yes. And I take it you would then disappear to the lakes.
Yes. As soon as we could, yes.
Oh, thanks for that, Dee. And again, just before we now move on, it's people can then see you at, first of all, St Anne's Library, and that's when?
That's next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
And I'm Penwitham Live at the end of March.
Oh, of course, that's coming up soon.
That's coming up.
And the Museum of Lancashire.
Museum of Lancashire on the 9th of March.
Brilliant. And if people want to find out more about you, I know you've got your Facebook page.
You'll find me on Facebook, Dean Fraser, Quantum Folk Poet.
Brilliant. There we are. Dean, can I thank you for coming on to Chat City this morning?
Thank you, Dougie.
It's been nice to meet you. Thank you, Dean.
103.2 Preston FM.
Your community.
Your radio.